everyone. It's 6:35. This is tonight's budget workshop. We have 6 members of the board here. Thank you everybody for coming. Since we do have a quorum, let me just say this is for information only. No decisions are going to be made today. And we are joined by the drumline practicing in the next room. So for everyone listening, future generations can enjoy listening to our drumline practice. They did very well at their performance this Saturday. So let me just say that we have a lot of information to get through tonight. I apologize in advance for that. And I'm going to have Kathleen Haynes start us. She provided us with all the information that we needed with our very preliminary budget for this year. One thing that she wanted to make sure that everybody was aware, we do have, we've approved as a board to, I thought I'd be able to sing with the drum, and I can't. So we've already approved to move from having 3 grades in the primary center, 3 grades in the intermediate center, and 3 grades in the middle school to having 2, 3, and 4 respectively. And one thing that she wanted us to point out is if there are any things that we pay for where we pay per grade, they are being left in their old spots so that when we do our zero increase budgeting to start off with, it looks the same. So if there's something that in the past we paid $100 per grade, in last year it would have been 300, 300, 300. We're not going to see 200, 300, 400. We're going to still see 333, at least for now, for the purpose of at least comparing apples to apples in this starting point. So I just want to point that out.
What area?
In the primary center, the intermediate center, and the middle school. If there's anything that we pay for per grade, she's leaving them in those budgets for right now, just so we can compare what we paid last year to what we paid this year without dealing with the extra complication of moving 1 grade up to primary center, 1 grade up to...
On everything?
You are looking at the personnel in bulk. You don't look at that.
Right, okay.
Correct.
So I'm not moving anything until I look
Like
at
curriculum
my
instruction, that kind of information, that expense would be...
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we're talking about like purchase of paper supplies, things like that.
Here I sat down thinking, oh, that's lower because of...
Not this time, not yet. So hopefully if there are things that we have noted like that, we'll either get you those answers today or Kathleen and I will do our best to create a list of the things that we can get those answers sometime soon. So I want to hand that over to you. You can start with wherever you want to start with.
Okay, this is a short presentation. I just wanted to point out a few facts of where we are right now. This is a familiar slide that we saw with the first presentation. It's just showing what their estimate or where we are in the Act 1 index and what that looks like and equates to our current revenue. All right. When I've gone through several, the Act 1 index for the forecast, if you notice over here where the base index is 4.3, 4.3, 3.6 for the next 3 years, it looks like we're going to be either equating to where we are now with what that looks like, or a little bit above. That final year we're going to go down. But the next couple of years you're looking at probably the same scenario that we're sitting in now, to where when you go into the budget process, doing the quicker method is probably going to be the way you want to go, because you're going to have a large amount that you're going to be able to increase. So just keep that in the back of your head for next year. The increase in users, now the market changed a little bit, but right now, currently, this is where we're at with the projection. It equates to about $100,000 increase for next year. The revenue numbers we're still waiting on because, of course, Governor Wolf came out with a wonderful budget proposal, but it's not always what it looks like when it gets finalized. And you also know our current status with the ACS, the survey, where we are the richest community in the county. So we are still trying to get a hold of them to see if we can do any corrections in that, hoping for something.
The Peasers piece. I know that years back there was a problem with, on the Peasers piece, I know years back there was a problem with, WorldCom and Bernie Madoff and all that. Is that what we're still thinking of? I thought we kind of balanced that out and then kind of we're leveling off, or are we just trying to make up for all the increases because is that because of the increases in salaries?
This is just what Peasers is projecting the rate's going to be.
Okay.
And every time they predict it's based on the market where we are. Like when they projected 22, 23, the projection actually came in better than what they had projected earlier. So when they came in into the final, they projected that it was going to be worse than it was, but because the market's how it turned out, they didn't have to increase it based on their actuarial computations.
You look back over the last 3 years, and I mean, even now with the war, I mean, the market's still crazy still. I mean, so this thing should be dropping like a stone if that's a true comparison.
Well, that's just the rate that they're going to charge us. So for every dollar we pay in salary, we pay
more money.
Yeah.
But it's not that the increases
cents.
aren't just related to any malfeasance that has happened in the past that they're trying to make up for. It also has to do with how many people across the state are retiring, which is going up.
It is going up.
Yeah,
that's really what I was looking for.
Yeah.
That makes sense that it's going up because if you base it on a couple of those other items, it should have made up for any mistakes that were made. Which I kind of drives me crazy. Nobody came and made mistakes when the market went down for me. But,
the year that we joined the board, their projection for what next year was supposed to look like, it was supposed to be over 40%. And they made it small. They made those increases every time they get the projection smaller. But I think that in general, statewide, they tried to make those projections as conservative as possible, where they're looking at the worst case, they would I think they'd rather have people statewide be pleasantly surprised that it's smaller. That's my opinion anyway, over.
They overshoot it and they come down and good. All right, so the only other thing on here is the fuel prices. They're right, I don't know if anyone noticed at the pump, but the consortium, we can't even get anybody to lock in at this point.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, that makes sense. And they have different formulas that they're trying to use, but we continue to have meetings with the Berks County, the other business managers and the facility people, so. FYI. And if you want to just start at the beginning and then we'll go through each one, is that how you want to do it?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Tell me where we're starting.
We'll start with athletics.
Because that starts with the letter A. Oh, it's so
Like
small.
word
It's so small. Okay, go ahead.
Now, can you see it on the screen? Do you know how to make it bigger on your screen?
Yep. I just did.
So we have at the beginning of this one, there's all the contracted carriers, that's all the trips that the teams will take where they need to go. We have,
Kathy, I have a question regarding like page 1. I just went down and kind of looked at the increases to see, why would there be such a hop? Cross country, from 1,000 to 2,600. Is there anything that we can correlate back to that? I mean, I know if I go back one more year to the year 19 and 2019, 2020, it was there. So you kind of have some flat lines there. Is there anything happened last year versus this year that would cause it? And I have a couple of them.
Which-
Football went up almost $2,500. I mean, previous years are around $5,000 and now it's at $7,100. Is there something that attributes that?
Well, you also are looking at COVID, right? So numbers would have been down because of COVID.
Well, again, I'm going back to 2018 and 19. I'm looking at across the board for the hop is. You're right. On the ones where it went down in 2021, I can see that. But in 2018 and 2019, we were still around $1,200. And I'm not suggesting anything's wrong. I'm just asking the question, like, what made this hop? I got a bunch of those just so I can kind of wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
So COVID year.
You want them to come up here?
Yeah, could you, just
I
so,
apologize. I know this is a little unorthodox, but if you could come up
Yeah,
and use
just
a
come up,
mic.
yeah.
Just use a mic.
yeah, and
Just grab the mic, kind of run around.
don't throw the pen.
All right, so just for the COVID year, and this is kind of across the board, anytime that there was a large tournament, a large meet, those were all canceled last year, right? So that kind of makes sense in that part. The next piece is, when I came in, we started going away from taking vans. So I really do not like 15-passenger vans. They're dangerous. They've gone away from them in the college game completely, which is why we ordered the 10-passenger vans, much safer. So we send a lot of our teams, including golf, we get a minibus where our coaches aren't driving. And I think that's important for two reasons. Being a former coach, I found that when you're driving, I mean, obviously we need to be paying attention to where we're going, and as a coach, I'm focused on my game, where I'm going, and then afterwards, whether it's good or bad, I'm probably focused on that coming home. Plus I'm tired. I mean, the kids are tired, the coaches are tired, so we got away from doing bands, and we try to send everybody as much as we can on the bus. With the boys and girls, we spend more time going to the meets that host the boys and girls instead of splitting up where you get three bands. So then you can put everybody on one bus.
So then most of the increases, like, football went from, again, 52, 57, 45, and 71.
Yeah,
Is
some of it
that, most of that going to be transportation then? And that would be in this area instead of transportation?
That whole
Okay.
first section on that first page is all
So I do a transportation increase of 2%, which I don't even think for next year, the way it works, 2% might be enough in terms of gas and mileage.
how they percent short because again, we're RFP.
Right.
So there's variables here.
Yeah.
So it's a safe bet to use what she's using.
Okay.
Just keep it.
Yeah, it's a logical answer. You know, I just wanted to find out what could be.
The repercussions of also being good. We had everybody go in the fall. We're paying for more transportation that wasn't budgeted in there, right? So we are getting for boys soccer, we're getting a charter bus to go to, I don't even know where we went. Somewhere 2 hours away.
Yeah, and like if you look at softball, the last time we had a full season, it's significantly higher than it is now. It is this time, but that's because we hit postseason and then some that year.
Yes.
And yeah.
Almost double over it. And again, it's a Y or not a
Numbers help too. You know, where football may be down, they're only taking a bus, now they're taking two.
Right.
You know, and some things are still a little wiggy in terms of like when you look at baseball, because varsity might play here, JV might play away, right?
Yeah.
And some schools don't have two fields, so some things are a little odd.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's still going to be a year or two before we have a steady state to look at. You know, absolutely.
Well, you have to almost go back to 2018 and kind of.
Right, and I saw you trying to do that. Makes sense.
Where does this make any sense? So, yeah, no, thank you. That's a good answer.
Okay.
Even officials went up almost 20 grand.
That's in a different spot. Yeah.
30,000 for the chemical equipment for the track.
Oh, that's the jump. We need new jump mats, which is crazy. Pole vault mats and a high jump mat is probably pretty close to $30,000.
Wow.
Ours are pretty bad.
You know, my daughter just asked me if we were going to get a high jump mat. She didn't even do track, but she knew that the one that we had was
Pretty bad.
pretty bad.
Yeah.
I was going to use a different word. But yeah, she just brought it up today.
For cheer, I'm assuming it's that for Max.
That's for Matt's over at the middle school.
Yeah. Okay.
Good expense.
All right. Is there anything else you wanted to highlight?
I want to highlight, if you look at, page 6, we're working really hard. This is the first year we're trying to split out the actual lawn and landscaping.
Oh, okay.
Anything that Halter is doing, because I'd like to make athletics its own thing. We want to kind of separate it. We want to sell a building, we want to know how much they spend. We want to know how much of our land, our lawn and, it's landscaping, not lawn. Anyway, I want to be able to know how much Halter is doing for our smart sports team versus our facilities. Now, Eileen and Brian and I sat down with Rob and we kind of ironed out exactly the cap. I've already put the budget in last year. I put the budget in, started, it hasn't really gotten off. It's getting there. There's a lot of fine tuning and getting the bills to work. But I want to know, just as we're continuing in the future, you're going to see at least this year, and then we have it budgeted for next year, the same thing, and then hopefully within a couple of years, we can really get a good cost of what athletics is costing.
Is that why you reduced it? Because you feel there's going to be a difference in what we get charged?
I thought it was a little over at that point, and now that we have different staff in different positions, I feel like we're not.
Okay, I was wondering why the big decrease.
It's going, I think the budget was a little bit too high that one year.
Can I ask, under Birdsboro, Weavertown Road, IC and PC, it says $2,000 for each one. The Birdsboro one, what is that?
Right now, it's just an item that was in there and it hasn't been moved yet.
Okay, and for the other three, is that maintenance that we're attributing to athletics at those three other buildings?
We were talking about that.
Okay.
And we are not quite sure. We were just discussing.
We talked about that today because we don't, as
Right.
athletes don't do anything over at the ICPC over in town. So
Hey,
we talked about-
there is field day.
Pardon?
There is field
There's
day.
But from an athletic standpoint.
No, absolutely. That's what I
So we
didn't
talked about
understand.
I think we talked about that, like, what you have is what I said. and
Sure.
It was 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah, that's fine. The bottom of page 5, and then the bottom of page 5, it has field services for Birdsboro, which I didn't know if that meant Birdsboro as in the field that we play baseball on in Birdsboro.
We're separating that out. It's actually in the wrong account. That's what that's for.
Okay.
There's going to be separate things.
And then Weavertown, and then
Split that one because we
correct, but there should be a line item that for what we do pay. But then Weavertown Road, IC, and PC, there shouldn't be anything under athletics at those three buildings.
That's what we discussed today.
No, that's fine.
So when I originally did it, I threw the money in there because there was conversation half-heartedly in different places. And now we've all sat down and we have a plan. So by the end of this
Okay.
year, or at least for the activity, it will be comparison to what the budget is. So once I get a good understanding, I'll move the budget before the final.
All right.
Are we going down the sheet?
Your next thing you want to highlight?
I don't have anything else to highlight in there unless you all have questions.
And then, yep, go ahead.
I do on the rental. I mean, we doubled our rental. Is there something that we rented this year different this year than we did previous years? I mean, it went
Wait,
from 6 to
Where are we?
6 to 10 rental equipment.
142.
We went from
Okay, I see it.
We went from like 6 to that thousand. Again, we're talking small. It's not a question that it's wrong. It's just whether or not just trying to figure out what it is.
Yep, so for rentals, we pay a fee for swimming, so up at Body Zone. We
Yeah.
actually have a really good contact to maybe move, because that's a pretty expensive place, and we can only go 3 times a week there. We pay a fee to Jay Lanes for bowling. And then our third fee,
Golf is relatively the same though.
Are they new?
It is.
They're newer than, or they're new spots that we're going to now? They did?
Body Zone we started last year because we were at Splash. So
And
we
bowling,
stopped.
Jay Lane's just up their
Jay Lane's
prices?
always been- Yep.
Okay.
No, Jay Lane's has stayed the same for the most part.
It doubled. It's doubled for the budget. J&H is doubled for your budget.
Unless unless it should be 2,300 for both, so then it would be, because that would be the same as if it was like 1,150 for women's and for girls and boys.
That seems pretty low.
Okay,
That seems pretty low.
because that's what you paid in previous years.
Okay. I'll have to relook at that.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I'll make a note.
And then
and then we also-
baseball rental equipment.
Porta potties.
Ah, okay,
So we have porta potties.
that's new. Yeah.
No, we did that last year.
You must have had it under a different. You had it under equipment instead of this.
Because we didn't have a spring the year before, and that was in our
Right.
first spring.
Got it.
So some things we were still learning last year, but yeah, so porta potties for baseball.
Okay.
Overall, net, it looks pretty good, but I did see, the top line under general supplies, looking at $10,600 versus other years where it was either 150
There's one,
to
right?
1,000.
Yes.
My name on it.
610.
I don't know how they did that.
So what?
Are you on page 3? You're not 30.
I'm on page 8. General supplies.
So last year it was
Yeah.
10,612, is that where you are? And then, well, this year, and then next year it's down to 5,000.
Yep.
Yeah. It's how much it costs to do business. So what ends up happening is throughout the year, obviously, we have a zero-based budget, so we do our best to get with all of our coaches at all of our sports to find out what they would like the year before. Now we're starting that in February. We haven't even had a spring. So what ends up happening is we end up maybe having to replace a net, having to buy more balls than we needed, and that is not budgeted enough in our sport by sport. So we just take that out of our general supplies.
Also,
It's kind of an emergency fund.
with the
With
with
some basis to it.
yeah,
Not
with
just remember, she has complete basis for
Yes.
her numbers.
Yes.
I get it.
so in 2019 to 20, like that spring mostly didn't happen, and then
Correct.
the fall of 2020, 2021 mostly didn't happen.
Right.
And so when you get back and like, all right, we're ready to go.
Yeah,
It's been a year since, and so we did need a lot more
You go back to
replacements.
2019, yeah, 143, then it went up to like $900, then to 1,700 this year. 2021, 22 is 10.6, and then next year, the following year is 5. It's just a big hop, that's all. I'm just, you go back.
So we're looking at the middle school.
Okay.
That top line's the middle school.
Okay.
And what we did for this year was we had to purchase, kind of learning about how we work the budget here. We purchased for $6,000 a new volleyball stanchion.
Okay.
So instead of putting it in and that's all me, instead of putting it in like the capital or non-cap, for that would be a cap instead of 5,000. I just put it in our general supplies and went out of that.
Yeah,
If that makes sense.
it's just jumped off the page. We didn't have it before. I mean, if you go all the way down to the bottom, I mean, you pretty much net year over
Yeah.
year. It's a little bit hot. It's a hop over previous years when we're doing more things.
I also wonder if some of your coaches maybe wouldn't do a better job of like saying what their stuff is for, because there's some items where you've put down that we're going to spend some money and then it's zeros, and so I'm
Yeah.
wondering if it hasn't been attributed correctly.
That can happen.
Yeah. Because from last year to this year, it's a flat line. It's actually gone down a little bit. Yeah. So anything else? Okay. Any questions on athletics before we move on?
Just so you know, the uniform cycle. We always talk about the uniform cycle.
Oh, let's talk about the uniform cycle.
Next year it's going to be middle school girls volleyball and boys and girls laps for lacrosse.
I know what lax means.
Nice job.
It's cheer, math.
Pardon?
We had cheer, we talked about,
Right.
we had cheer budgeted for that, for one of these years, and is that,
Right, so I took that 4,000 from when we talked about in the extracurricular meeting, and I put it in their supplies.
for the math?
No, that's different. So if you look at cheer,
I saw it. It's in the
if you look at cheer
600s.
in their supplies,
600.
That 4,000 over, that 4,000 that would have been in the uniform cycle over to their supplies. Because you guys pay for your own uniforms.
It's in the 600s,
But we
yeah.
also know that,
You see the 4,000, the 600s there?
But middle of
I
page.
think eight, I
Middle of
think.
page 9.
9, yeah.
And then that's for both
Run pages run
high
together.
school and the middle school, or is it just the high school, or?
I think I put that in the high school.
Right there in the high school.
Okay. I see it, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, any other board questions for Eileen or for Kathleen? Thank you.
All right, we have the next on the list is board services. This accounts for, this is all your legal services and your, like,
SPED is special ed.
yeah, we said,
Something happened that I missed. You know, I know that we had a couple of things, but it seems like we had a pretty big increase in legal services for special education from 6, not year over year. Those are going from 58,000 to 6 to 73. And then, again, down for special ed second, 48, 0 to 20 to 50. It's $100,000 over previous years, almost $200,000 over previous years. And it seemed, I thought we were kind of going away from some of that.
Well, if you look, if you look at there are some over here like special ed elementary, special ed secondary. They've got, there's like a lot of money in those in 18, 19. I'm wondering if this is a coding difference because I didn't think we were spending that much more on legal services
It's almost $100,000.
year over year.
well, you know the thing that you just approved at the, we had, the attorney, what's his name?
Tom.
Yeah.
Brian?
Tom Werner.
Yep.
So he comes in and it's $50,000 a year.
There you go. Gotcha.
So any of those agreements that, yeah, we're not approving a lot of them right now.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's some that are over 4 or 5 years or whatever.
Yeah.
They kind of got to weed themselves out, and then I always put a little bit extra because nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect, and you might be seeing Mr. Warner again, you don't know, so.
Mm-hmm.
Kathy, can I add something to that? Some of that, there's one agreement that finishes in September that hasn't been touched, and it's for a substantial amount of money, and it probably won't be touched, but we have to put that money in there. Oh, sorry. We have to put that money in there, so it's over in September of 2022. They've not spent a penny, and they won't,
Okay.
but we have to carry that money.
Yeah, you have to hold on to it. Yeah.
What is that?
That one is 40,000, just sitting there.
So we'll pick it up afterwards.
Right, well, it'll be removed. We won't.
Yeah, it'll be
have that money.
we'll have the budget there, but then we wouldn't have spent
We
it.
won't have spent it, right?
Correct.
Absolutely.
But like Kathy said, a lot of those are the, well, we do those settlement agreements, it's for tuition. So you have to, that's where that tuition is budgeted. Correct.
Okay.
And those are items, it's like your tuition accounts.
Thank you.
Like an accrual. Tuition and travel, errors and omissions.
Errors and
Is
admissions,
that a policy?
yeah, we always have to have that in there. Okay, we haven't used it,
Right, but it wasn't in previous years.
it's always that way, yeah, we have never used it. So I budgeted, but
But you
then
budgeted 45 and then never used, I got you.
we've never actually.
Yeah, because the 3 before there, that's actual, not what's budgeted.
We don't
Right.
have any errors or omissions.
So you can just move it forward every time you
Yes.
budget, right?
I have to put it there just in case, but.
I was going to ask about advertising, but I know what that is. It just seemed like it was hot. Heavy turnover?
Yeah.
All right. special ed, there's other pieces to that.
I mean, it's hard to look at, you know, claims and judgments. I mean, 625,000, that's a lot of money. Well, 490, it's just, you know, so,
And they go through all the paperwork and they try to make everything there. It's like tuition.
It's just hard to look at.
500, it's the same thing.
I don't like looking at it, that's all.
That's fair, that's fair.
I'm just trying to say that if I'm sitting here like this, there's a reason.
So we're gonna move on?
Yeah, any questions about board services? All right. Yep, let's move on.
Alright,
What's next?
B&I budget.
Wait to decrease right now. Wait to decrease in one area.
All right. Okay, anything you want to highlight for us?
President helped with putting the budget together before we left, and I know we went over a lot of like the status, the 5-year plan, and the discount pricing to do that. There's a new math program here, but other than that, Angela's here, her notes ready. If there's anything specific, but everything you've been discussed with in the regular meetings, you know, basically.
Did we not spend money in 2018, 19, 2020 on supplies, books?
No, that's just, this
That's
is,
because
this
we're-
is an unusual budget, because this budget used to be handled differently
Right.
until we started the position with
Right.
President.
This is one of those movements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The money
This
moved.
is the only budget like that that's left.
Is this one of the ones where those dollars are used to be on the individual building budgets?
Something like that,
Okay.
a lot of mixture like that.
All right.
And what is professional development non-web CNI?
Non-web would be, the non-web is just the credit person
Okay.
versus the web where they have virtual, which you saw a lot of.
Again, you know, we're looking at almost 2.5 times normal. You know, if it's 7,300, 8,100 are normal, you know, we're looking at 20 this year, so it's for sure double. Is there any reason for that you know of?
Because Preston didn't have to go because he'd been here a long time. And now Angela has to get up to speed with some of those things.
What-
I would assume.
Which
Am I
one?
wrong
What
on that?
what page are you looking
Where
at?
is-
Page
Number 2.
It says $19,800 versus 2,000, and I get the 2,000, but if you go back, you're looking at like 73, 8,000, and 19,800, almost 20 grand.
There's also
Wondering
the
what it was, I'm not
professional.
complaining.
Oh, I see.
Professional development is broken out, like the first one on page 2 is 2271, which is all your instructional staff. Then you have your staff development for the people that are non-instructional certified, and then you have non-certified instructional. What we've done is we've taken all those professional developments that were all over the district to move them into, that's what her job is to make sure there's professional development that's more streamlined across the district, you're not having operating silos. Okay, and then, yes, we got the new programs that are coming in, there's also that's like the Sabbath thing that came in, the new math program that we're gonna be implementing.
When we get those quotes and purchase them, then it is, the PD is included in the quotes. So when that's broken out, you have the books as part of it, and then the professional development where the companies actually come out and train our staff. And
Where did we stuff that money? We did professional development in 18, 19, 20, 21.
We did, but it was sporadic throughout the buildings.
Okay.
This is more centralized, like this is more, it's more, it's not like they're operating in silos, I don't want to insult like the buildings, but when, we have more of a uniformity now.
So did we, again, I'm just trying to figure out, did we spend $500,000 in 2018 and 19 like we did in 2020, 21?
Do you think that we might be able to track down where those items were in previous budgets
I mean,
to get him an answer that
Maybe we
he's
did
satisfied
spend it
with?
before. I'm okay with it, I just didn't, I don't see it.
It's also the thing is where the coding was, and I want to throw this out.
No, I understand
All
that.
right, the general ledger, when you go look at the PDE, the chart of accounts that are out there, it'll give you, if you go, I don't know if they even have the backgrounds, I have all the versions, but it'll tell you what gets moved where.
Okay.
Professional development wasn't in the area that it is now, what,
Okay.
4 years ago. They weren't using the
We still spent the money, we
2271.
just
They
didn't
kind
fix
of,
the account.
exactly,
Yeah.
they were sticking it in different areas like building budgets. It would fall under like a principal budget under the certain. So the coding has changed. I've gone through, when I brought it over to Skyward, I went through and deleted a lot of accounts and kind of merged accounts that made sense together. But if they're putting stuff for professional development in a 610 or a 580 that isn't considered professional development accounts, I couldn't merge that. I'd merged too much or I'd merged whatever. I did the best I could sorting through it when they made the change, but it's kind of hard because each person was doing what they did with what they had at the time. So.
Right. Okay, so again,
If that makes more
as time
sense.
goes on, these numbers will make better sense. Because I just- when I see a hop and when I ask the question, I just don't look at it. It doesn't hurt to ask.
It's much more standardized now
Yeah.
than it was.
Anyone else? Anything else you want to highlight for us? Or are we good?
All right, now we're on to the high school. Alrighty.
Is there an increase in cyber charter elementary this year?
Oh, we're on the high school budget?
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in high school.
We're on high school?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that one account number did not highlight. You looking at the 1110569?
I think I was Google High School.
I didn't put a name of an account there. I didn't say, I put it there, but I forgot to say it.
I mean, pretty much the same as 18, 19. I want to go back and take a look.
Where are you? I'm sorry,
On
what
the high
page?
school, when you look at the high school, I just went to the bottom.
Oh, I see.
checked it, I mean, I went through each one of them. I mean.
Yep.
um,
Ballpark's the same.
yep.
What's the,
100,
What's what?
100 over last year, but you really can't compare it. because
there's
it's-
a category without a heading, and the
Yeah,
budget
that's what I just said. I have the title in there. That's a tuition.
for 45,000?
Yes.
Okay, tuition.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so this year we've been getting bills almost on a daily, weekly, monthly basis for mental health placements of various varieties. And we are responsible for the education of the students because they're ours when they're there. So we get a bill for a certain percentage of the educational services. Well, typically we get a handful. We're up over 2 dozen already. And we're over on that line item.
Okay.
Already for this year. So
Oh, the current one.
year.
Okay.
So I asked Kathy if we could add, that is most likely what we're going to finish this year with,
Okay.
is around 40, so there's 45 for next year.
All right.
If we don't use it, great. But
Okay.
And we did try to do that education internally, but the way that the contract.
Can't do it. Nope.
We tried.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else we want to highlight? Overall, it does look pretty similar to pre-pandemic.
It's almost flat over a 5-year period, so.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Any questions? Moving on to which place?
Intermediate center.
Okay. Alphabetically next. I'm sorry, it takes my computer a second to A, pull the document up, and B, make it large enough so that I can read it. Okay, we're good.
About on the same
There was a big chunk in 33,000 in office of principal for admin, DB, AIC, 33,000.
What's the principal?
think it was
Oh.
page 2.
Yeah, bottom of page 2.
It says professional services office.
You talking about the 15,000?
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Yes, I noticed, I think your original question about 33,000 like 2 years ago.
Yep.
So I'm not sure what exactly that was without being there.
Okay.
But this year, what we're looking at is a one book, one school for our school, especially now changing with different grade levels, getting that started early on in the fall, and then doing something again in the spring. Some new signage around our school as well, and a book study for the staff, and also general office supplies. We're really depleted with that by our main office for our teachers throughout the year.
Makes sense.
You know, I know it's always interesting to try to deal with that when you realize there's a lot that you have to deal with. But I guess future, we probably want to try to get that to flatten out, you know, in the future, so that it's not like, you know, I know you weren't here, but a whole bunch of money and then no money and then a whole bunch of money. But, you know, got to start somewhere.
Exactly. That's what Ange Press and I talked about.
Cool.
Doing it this year and then making it flat out. Get a system going and stay with it.
We tried to flatten out technology for years, but it's just hard. That technology is a little easier because you can take a piece of equipment. You can't, but this, not all those things are flattenable. Level.
That's fair.
Yes, no, that's good.
Okay. Anything else anybody was concerned? Oh, and that when I see under just general supplies for the building, last year was 15 and change. This year we budgeted 19, and next year we're asking for 30. It's that same issue that just that, you know, you've gone through what was like in the cupboards, and now we need to restock.
Yeah, good question. With the Encore teachers, yes.
Okay.
You know, a lot of changes there, but also, you know, with our regular education teachers, right now 3, 4, 5, a lot of new teachers. So more supplies you need for new teachers, and then the Encore teachers some outdated supplies. So the combination of the two.
Okay.
One thing I do need to check on though is the travel. We should be around 500 on my spreadsheet. So last year was at 120, and then on this document it's 3,000. So that's something I definitely will look into tomorrow. That seems a little high.
For office of principal, you mean?
Yeah, travel instructional, yeah. That was something I looked at earlier, and I saw that was a little bit different than what I had.
Okay.
It should be about 500.
And extra nursing as well. Is that because of COVID?
Yeah, I talked to Beth about that, just supplies in general. You know, like normal inventory and just running low on, you know, materials for COVID, but, you know, bandages and those types of things as well.
I'm looking under nursing, and I see next year's is significantly lower than the current year under nursing. Am I looking at something different than you are?
This year was more of the supplies that we needed versus next year.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, are we looking at a budget then at around 100,000? Previously it was around the 60s, and now we're looking at.
Oh, going back to the 18.
Around that 100, because the high school flattened out year over year. I think AIC was like 4. There's a couple different ones, but I was wondering, is that what we're kind of looking at then, about 40,000 off?
Yeah.
As a total budget?
Right.
Anything significant that would make?
I'm going to circle back real quick. The 33,000 that you're looking at is because we had a temporary secretary in that position.
Okay.
The book study, and we'll discuss, me and him will discuss this later, exactly if that's in the right spot. I believe that's going to be more of a professional development line, but me and him will talk about it and we'll just figure out the coding, but you're still going to see that 15,000, it just might be moved
Somewhere else, okay.
And then you were looking at what was the next question?
I was just looking at overall, the net bottom at the bottom, I'm looking at, year 18, 19, we're at 57, and we went to 57 again, and we went to 103, 93, and then 107, we're projecting in 2022, 23, so I just was wondering, is that kind of where we're hovering out at 100 grand? Set the thought.
Probably. I'm looking at his supply number, but there was different things that he needed for the building.
Right.
Supply purchases that he hadn't gotten the past year, so.
Yeah, I think that what Mr. Sherrill is trying to ask is, are we looking at this that being the steady state, or is this just like we're going to try to, we can kind of flatten those out in the future at a number that's somewhere in between 107 and 58.
Absolutely. Because
Hopefully.
at the end of the day, I mean, you're having some additions, you're having new teachers, you're having new supplies, and yet we're still kind of forecasting, down the road here, 107, which is higher than the 93. It's just, and not your doing, but previously, we had discussions about budgets. And how did you come up with that number? It's like, we took last year and added 10%. It's like, wow. So it's a true cost up budget. It just have to maybe look at it a little differently on the 107 number. Make sense? Does that make sense, Bob?
Because of the restructuring, like how we move things?
That's not what we're supposed to be seeing in this budget
Right.
document.
And we wouldn't really.
Because of the
I know
restructuring.
not coming forward.
Yeah.
Talking about that we were 57,000 and then went to 103. Is that when we closed like Birdsboro and moved people over there?
Oh,
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I do.
57 and then it's up to 103. Did we put more, we put more
That's what I
students
think
there?
happened, that's the year that.
Because of the
closed
closure.
everything.
Right,
Right?
yeah, that's.
Good.
that is true.
Could be.
Oh, actually, the last year that we had Birdsboro open, it was it closed in June of 2018. Was the last time it was there. So that would have been the first year that everybody was in those two buildings. Was the year that it's 57. But actually, I believe we reused a lot of supplies that year, didn't we? That we
We had some
that
supplies that we carried on.
Yeah, so that sounds like a ... We can get an answer by the next time we meet to do this. Yeah,
One of those things that kind of-
yeah. I think you could be correct. Yeah, yeah. So, anybody else have any questions for Mr. Becker? I know everybody's name. I just can't seem to get them out of my mouth. I need to. Anything else you wanted to highlight for us, Ms. Haynes?
No, I want to pull something up here because I see a mistake. I just hold on a second.
And you were going to check on that really high number on for travel,
Travel,
general
yes.
travel.
Yep.
You okay? You're going to check. on that.
500.
You know-
Oh, you're pretty sure it's going to be. It's supposed to be 500.
You're not 3,900. It's a little too high.
And oddly specific. So-
It's expensive now.
Price of fuel.
Yeah.
I was thinking more of the speed pass.
Historical. Okay.
All right, on the,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
in the budget,
Thank you.
notice up at the top of the IC budget.
Yep.
You'll see I have the first 2 years on there
Uh huh.
as 19.
Oh, I do see that.
Okay, so I'm pulling this up right now because.
Do you see what she's pointing out?
Wonderful, and I think we'll things up on the spot. Let me just get this in here. And save this, and then I'll pull it up so you can see the true comparison.
The two columns here, they're identical. Yeah.
That's
so-
why I see 57, 57.
Oopsies.
I just want to make sure that we're looking at this.
Spreadsheets are the worst.
Just thought it was brilliant accounting. No.
Down to the last dime, it's the
Hey,
same.
that's pretty good. Somebody play that number.
Yeah, when you look at that, I put it out there for everyone to see, it's all the corrections. You see right here, 18, 19, and 109.
Okay.
Oh.
Again, going back to where we were
That's
before,
exactly what you said.
it's 109, we're kind of flat, 18,
We're pretty
19.
flat right around between 100, 105, somewhere.
I want it to go down, but I understand.
I want it all to go.
Mr. Scribble retracts his skepticism of your budgeting ability, Mr. Becker.
So, and they only, that 1 year, I guess, we were using supplies in 19 and 20. Yeah.
Yeah, and then 1920 could
So
be
that was basically
anything,
flat over the 18, 19 years.
Yeah.
Same thing as high school class.
which is not what I expected, but. All right, any other questions on the IC for anybody? Moving on to the middle school. Jumping all over the place in age, but.
All right, so next is the middle school. All right.
Field trips jumps on the page.
Yeah.
Where's the field trips?
Silence is good, keep the silence.
Field trips, up on top,
Where?
fourth one down, field trips,
Oh,
fourth one down, 15,000 this year.
Are we
Yeah.
going somewhere this year?
No, it should be done in, that should be last year.
Yeah, the current year.
Yeah.
21,
Was that from things getting canceled the 2 years before that?
Yeah, I think that was put in
Yeah.
the previous, and I think that was just that we're not sure where we're gonna be and have it there. And then, where we're at with the 4,000, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know why the 15,000 is that high for field trips, from what we were looking at before.
Well, it's a year times 3. It's 5,000 a year times 3. That's probably how that happens.
So I think when we were moving forward to next year, looking at what the other ones were doing, we were just seeing where they were, and we'd be looking at kind of definitely going down with them a little bit and not spending as much on it.
All right.
Well, I'll tell you what, that Scott Tech supplies and software, I don't know, 50,000. And this is before we put the kids in, right? I mean, you got any money?
Yeah,
This is
no
looking
one-
at, you know, the 103 versus 90 and 80 and 50. I mean, some of that money's jammed over into the other one, it maybe level out a little bit. Because that's only $5,000 each, so.
Yeah, so it is, the budget is higher than it was in, 18, 19, but it is significantly lower than where we budgeted for the current year. You know, they way overshot that number. No offense.
None taken.
Okay. Is that large number under professional services for nurses? Is that also for part-time
That's for, yeah,
services?
We decided that we had a nurse and we decided not to put any money.
Yeah, well, keep in mind, we have a nurse that we share with it. We're required to provide nursing services for immaculate conception.
Right.
And so we share that nurse. That nurse also helps us with some filling in.
Okay.
So we very rarely use a sub-nursing service at this point in time.
Okay.
For when a nurse is now.
So that's the budgeted number, that's not the actual that we've spent so far this year?
This year's been actually been worse than the previous years.
Oh, I see.
Because of the COVID, we had that nurse
Okay.
out with COVID for a long time.
All right.
I put that as a revised budget just in case there are any fluctuations to what we actually budgeted.
Okay. There was one thing I was hoping to ask a question about. Go ahead.
So I understand if you get to the bottom and you're at 158 for 2021, was that 15,000 that Julia said earlier on field trips? Was that for 3 previous years? Is that what happened? Is that how the money happened?
That's how the budget happened.
Okay.
Yeah, but they didn't spend that much.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that's only like part of why that budget is pretty large, obviously. Yeah. I wanted to ask about the, I don't even know what this one's for. On page 1, there's a number like halfway down the page for $11,000. It's labeled books and PER. Periodicals. It's like $11,000 for this year. When it looks like, except for 1 year, it was mostly just like in between 3 and 4. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, with the new SATIS program.
Okay.
There's a lot of, we're looking to purchase a lot of class sets of novels that go with the SATIS program.
Okay.
In addition to small group novels and small group reads for some of the guided reading that is going to be done in those programs.
Okay. And
So that should be a one-time
okay.
purchase of that.
All
What's
right.
that program called?
SAVAS, SAVAAS.
Yeah, I think it's
Two V's, 2A.
I always
seen
it a million times.
I get confused with PMOS.
Yeah, they recommend novels to go along with and that's what
And with the differentiated instruction we'll be doing, there'll be guided readings in the classrooms, and they'll each, different groups will be on different novels and things like that.
Okay.
So that's just to supplement.
That's a tool for the reading and ELA teachers. Okay.
Correct. And the specialists.
And the specialists. I'm sorry.
Correct.
Okay. And you said one-time purchase.
Unless we decide to get a new program, ELA program next year.
Yeah, I know, right?
That should be fine for
It's like, well, as soon as you get comfortable with something, there'll be a new one. So maybe 3-4 years. So, any other questions or anything you wanted to highlight that?
No, I have nothing in that budget to highlight. It's reasonable. I mean, I know that before they were budgeting for it.
You made that sound awfully dismissive. There is nothing in this budget I want to highlight.
I really don't have a lot to highlight.
No, I know.
I
Yeah.
don't mind silence, and I don't mind dismissal.
Right? That sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
We good then? Moving on to the primary center? Thank you.
Thank you.
And we thought that the drums were done, so I do appreciate everybody still coming up to the mic when it's your turn.
It's way easier to
I can still hear them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe next time we'll pick a Wednesday. All right. Primary center. My glasses are not on my head. They're here. Budget is modest. Do you have something you want to complain about? We're good? Is there anything that doesn't make any sense? That's not what I meant to say. Is there anything that doesn't make any sense to anybody? Are you guys? No. And
Same thing with books, right? 13,000.
oh, we could increase the field trip budget a little bit.
That's for the kindergarten bus ride, so it
Oh, okay.
costs us too much to go through the parking lot.
Okay.
Head around better.
I guess that's not too bad.
There aren't other field trips for,
No, I didn't put anything in the budget for any of the field trips.
are we not going to do field trips for first grade, or do we used to?
We used to do field trips, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we got away with it, like, it looks like we stopped in 2020, I'm assuming because of COVID, but wouldn't we assume that we would do that again? I don't know.
Just let me know. I can add it.
That hurt. No, I'm kidding.
Tell me.
Maybe you and Angela can discuss if something could come back, just because the budget is very reasonable,
Okay.
And I understand that not all the money comes from the school. Some comes from the parents, and sometimes some support comes from PTC. But maybe you and Angela can discuss.
Okay.
Anything else? We good? Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. What's next? Busing services? Is that what that is?
No, this
Oh,
is
that's a
not
business
district
office.
office.
Business office, sorry.
I thought it was buses too.
I just like, I don't want to be out on an island. I just
My eyes are starting to hurt.
And this is where I budget, like the Skyward and things like that. It's pretty consistent year over year. There's not really much.
Do the contracts that we're using, we're now contracting out for, what, payroll?
Payroll services.
Couple of different, collections and things like that.
With the Keystone collection, which was already in
Yeah,
last year.
I'm just wondering, does that show up here, or does it show up somewhere else?
No, it's in-
Why do we have the increase in cell phones this year and then we're going back down?
Which one, where are you?
Page 2, top,
Okay.
rental equipment cell phones. It was 10,000 for this year revised, and then it goes back down to 2,000. It's like 2018, it was like 9,293. So
Mm.
like, why is it?
I thought I fixed it. Hang on a second.
It's
Let me
like
find it.
pretty.
Rental.
Oh,
report.
442.
Rental cell
Okay,
phones.
so this is where, this was where the cell phones were. And we merged it. I thought I merged it. Yeah, I would have to redo that.
Hmm?
This is between me and Scott. So-
Oh, sorry.
Between his budget and mine, we went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So it is in my budget in 1819, but I really thought I merged it. It's in yours too, right? It's not double budgeted, it's a line item. I merged the line item, is what I did, was I was trying to make it more consistent, but perhaps I didn't actually update it here.
Okay, do you understand my question? It's 10,000 this year.
And it's only 2,000 for me because I don't have cell phones in my budget. I had phone service and stuff like that to my,
Oh, okay.
it's all supposed to be in his budget and I kind
Oh,
of,
it went.
I tried to merge the accounts together, but apparently I wasn't successful.
Okay, okay.
I was trying to, yeah, I thought I had already updated that.
So in previous years, the 9,200 was a mispost?
It's in his budget. There is cell phones are cell phones, they're about $10,000.
Right.
Well, because they posted his phones in her budget.
Right.
Well, it used to be in my budget, and then it wasn't in my budget, and then it was in my budget.
Well, yeah, I can see that.
We were trying to get a happy home for it, and I really thought I merged the budgets together, but I'm not
Okay.
sure.
You don't have any cell phones then, right? In your budget?
In the business office.
In the business office?
No, but I have to budget accordingly for there's a new administrative guideline. Each administrator is allowed a cell phone.
Okay.
So there could possibly be the potential Sabrina might want a cell phone. This is district office and business services, so.
And say that one more time so I understand it completely. There's somewhere it's written down somewhere that they can have one, but they don't?
So you budget for the potential purchase?
Because I don't know if somebody could leave, like I could get a cell phone if I wanted, but I don't.
Right.
I have my own, this is my own, I pay for my own, I don't,
Right.
nothing to do with the district. Sabrina could get her own, but I could get them by aliens tonight. and
Yeah, I'm just
somebody-
trying to understand.
I want to make sure that the budget is there in case something happens and we need to actually give somebody a cell phone.
Right.
Just in case. So is it just in case budget?
What's the average price of a cell phone?
Provide cell phone.
The physical phone. So we basically get, well, honestly, whatever's on sale. So at most $50. Usually we can get a free offer if we time it right, but there we are. Maybe we're spending too much on those.
You're not spending $100 a phone.
Oh gosh. That's why I also pay for my own. It's like,
So I pay for mine.
You get the leftovers.
Got it.
Ken and I couldn't agree, don't worry about it.
Or you would try to find a report, but that line is supposed to be between, back and forth between me and Scott, and I moved the telephone information, the actual purchase, all that stuff is supposed to be under his budget. But I'll make sure that correction is made, make sure that it reflects that.
Not for anything, but if they're not using it, just keeping it there for,
And I can lower it too, it doesn't, I mean, you can see that I didn't really, my budget went down $10,000, so.
oh,
I
it's
think I've done my part.
probably down 12,000. No.
Now it's down 12.
I mean, I'm not suggesting it, but nobody's using it, why would we budget for it, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
I
you
get
never
what your
know.
point is, if it-
You never know when somebody new is going to be hired that
Well, that's
wants to.
right.
Because if you need to,
I got you.
yeah, if you want to
If we
be,
don't spend it, we're not gonna.
yeah, if people are going to
Right,
make,
Right back into the bigger pot, so
Yeah.
it's not.
yeah. Anyway, do we have any other questions for Kathleen, Ms. Haynes on the business budget? Okay, moving on. Oh, I was going to say we're in the home stretch, but we still have 8 more to go. Okay. All right. Facilities. That what's next?
Yeah.
Okay. Facilities. All right.
We have our standards, our disposals, no removal. I like to keep it up there. We could have a good year, we could have a bad year, you never know.
Mhm.
We'll get 46,000 one year and then we'll have to 320 and then
Yeah.
7 years. Custodial services, that's, based on the contract. Grounds,
We still have Birdsboro in.
I see zeros.
Yeah, there's zeros for that, but then under repairs and maintenance of buildings.
we had it for this year.
Yeah, we.
No, on page 3. Repairs and maintenance.
Oh, under 20. I see a 22,000. Is that necessary for some reason? Under on page 3, under.
That must be, that's in the wrong thing. That was supposed to go up in district, sorry about that.
Oh, okay. Oh, any particular reason why it's so high for district B&G? Because it was 0.
Overall, from the budget to budget, I
Mhm.
figure I'm pretty much in line. This was a hard budget item because when you're doing the repairs and maintenance, this is all associated with what Halter charges us, but also in case there are other repairs that come into play.
Okay.
I just have that on the wrong. I mean, I can smooth the numbers out. We do a lot of budget transfers between each of those buildings because what happens is you might have a repair at the high school that takes precedence one year,
Uh-huh.
and then the next year could be the middle school.
So,
I try to keep that within reason, like this year, what we're spending. I just hit the wrong field.
so am I understanding correctly that under repairs and maintenance, buildings and grounds, the 2,700 that's in this year's budget for Birdsboro is correct,
Yes,
but that the 22,000 that's in the year in the one for next year should not be under Birdsboro, it should be under district. Okay.
There should not be anything for Birdsboro moving forward.
right.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure that 27 was for the current year was correct. That's all.
Yeah, because remember we had those small repairs to do the sale of the
I do.
building. Okay. So that is correct. I just hit the wrong key. I was keying. this.
Okay.
I'm not a good administrative support person.
Um,
We'll have to do it.
I'd like to ask a question. Then this is facilities. One thing that's under here is maintenance on vehicles. Where are we? Are we still on the waiting list for new vans?
They are supposed to be produced. We're supposed to have, the way that they're saying it, according to the salespeople, they said that it should be here by the beginning of next school year. So I'm expecting sometime this summer, we should see them.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct. We should see them this summer. Unfortunately, as you know, we got backed up on that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
So we can finally get real late lightning.
That's completely off topic, but I just wanted to know. All right.
Make it back up again.
Yeah. All right. Equipment rental, the current year and next year are listed significantly higher than the previous years. Is that a COVID issue, or is this like an estimate and it's going to come in lower?
That is not due to COVID. That is due to the increasing amount of work as the building ages.
Okay.
And high work specifically, as it comes to maintaining, say, like the parking lot lights and having to rent bucket trucks.
Right.
Having to rent scissor lift, having to rent scaffolding and equipment.
Getting rid of bees in the in the annex gym.
This could potentially be lower.
All right.
This could also potentially, some of it could go away if we budget for a scissors lift and a trailer that we can take from building.
Yeah. So if you could, but I don't know how feasible that is depending on what needs to be fixed, right? You know, it might be able to be done. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we no longer using natural gas?
Where are you?
Page 8. That we didn't budget for it on, or we don't budget for? Page 8?
Natural gas?
Yes.
Okay, so even though the number has risen, we
Well,
are-
now it was something to cut off here. I'm not sure. I'm going to see if I can run the extra report.
we did see a slight increase.
Right, but we have zero budget.
No, I just thought, that's my mistake. That's not his. We talked about it, we added it, and I don't understand why it didn't print when I printed it.
Actually, it's zeros for everything after page 6.5.
Oh, yeah, see, yeah.
Yeah, same with electricity.
I was making those.
Yeah, it's just errors.
So, just so you guys are aware, with
And
both
propane.
natural gas and electric, the distribution charges have increased, and that was not forecasted.
So the budget for the current year is not $800,000 less than last year
No.
because all that
So,
stuff is listed as zeros.
We have actually locked in with competitive rates based on our consumption, but the distribution end is what's inflated.
Are they holding back on offering us what they're going to lock in on gas? Or have they offered us a number for next year at this point, or no?
We have worked with our provider to look at that projection based on the most recent data to come up with our numbers.
Okay.
And I think that was as of February that Kathleen and I were working on that.
Okay.
Yeah, and all the numbers were there when we were looking at it in February, weren't they? I don't know where they went.
Yeah, the numbers were here.
I don't know what happened.
That's okay.
I'll have to look at that. I can resend that out.
When it's fixed, just send us the link again so everybody can look at it.
Because I did the budget the first time, and then we sat down and we went.
Could you tell me the final line of your? Oh, is it gone from your main
I
one?
don't understand where it went to. That's what I don't understand.
Okay. Do you have a copy of the full budget where it shows the revised budget for the current year that we're in? The final line item is just shy of $4 million. Such a weird thing to say out loud. But because of the truncated numbers in the spreadsheet, we have the final line item for 22-23 listed as $3.19 million. Do you have a different number in your final line item
Do you
for?
have the original budget?
No.
Okay, I was just asking.
I have it back in my office. I'll go get it.
I was just curious if you knew, like, is it in the ballpark of 4 million? Is it in the ballpark of like 12 million? Is it in?
Well, I'm looking at page 12,
Yes,
and is that what you're seeing?
I'm seeing $3.19 million for next year.
Yeah.
That's what you see as well?
That's what I'm seeing right now, but I'm looking at the same thing you are.
Okay. All right.
I have that back in my office.
All right. Okay, so you'll send it to us, no problem.
I'll send it to you. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Is this a repeat, the next one, the intermediate center?
I don't know.
The AIC and now there's intermediate center.
I think so.
Yeah, that's just being copied, that was, I sent the thing at 11:59, sorry about that.
So we're on
Yeah,
the
that's
legal
just-
services?
We're on legal services,
Legal services.
and this is just bringing out what we already talked about in board services, but just centralized, or just
Okay.
Okay. The numbers for the board legal services are included in this, or no?
It's all the same, it's legal services, we have legal services, and I put that in combined with the board services.
Okay.
It just breaks it out just to show you our legal services.
Okay. All right, I have no questions. Anybody else?
No.
Okay. Resource officer. Who I met the other day.
Remember, we had that new company coming in.
All right, so-
Certifications that were necessary, that's why they're pricing at 167.
Yeah, that didn't we have? I thought we had to rebid that out last year. The
Yeah, it was put out to a different company and
Yeah.
using them. And then the other thing you'll see with the security services is we previously we had not been having security in all of our extracurricular events.
Right.
And the board voted to have our security there at the extracurricular events for a variety of reasons.
Right,
Some
right.
of which were some of the behaviors we were having and things like that. And so there's been some increased expenses in those areas.
Right. Okay. All right, any questions about anything listed there? Okay. I feel like that kind of is what it is. Special ed? And this is again where we're like, these numbers are what they are, right?
That you can't, I don't have a,
What makes up the cyber charter number increases, 260 to 520?
I budget high in all tuition as a just in case. Because I don't know who we're gonna get, when we're gonna get anybody, you just don't know. So my tuition is to the highest level that I think that's reasonable. Because some years you can see like like 2021, the fiscal year activity like is 1.6 million, but the year before was only $1 million. Now, of course, COVID had a lot to do with that, so we had a lot more tuition.
So what do you do, like a cost averaging cap? You take like a historic and then a percentage increase every year?
Yeah, so we kind of look over the numbers, if you guys massage it.
Crystal ball. Crazy 8 ball.
Something like that.
Why we dropped it, if
They're all mystical concepts.
we dropped
All
the
that
drop,
concept, they all know.
the travel, we did this support this year for the middle school, high school, 100,000 to 200.
Because we didn't have traveling. We didn't need all of that in the budget.
Okay.
Because they weren't traveling midday. Their schedules allowed them to be at one building.
Okay, so it was, the travel was with
The instructor.
with the instructor, would be traveling back and forth.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what that is.
Okay.
Okay.
Was there something for VOTEC that was an increase of 300K this year?
What's the
Page
question?
4.
VOTEC, what'd you say?
It just says tuition VOTEC second, so it took a $300,000 off. Just wondering if something special happened.
I'm looking for, did you say page 3, page 4?
1390.
Typically, that's budget, that's right off the budget that they send us. I can double check the number, but I just take that from the budget. Nothing significant that I know of. They're keeping the buses, they're not shutting back on the business.
It's just
Yeah.
based on the number of kids we have who are enrolled over there?
Yeah,
Okay.
and we get a budget.
And that just
for
depends on the kids, right?
Mhm.
We need trades, so.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Not to spend it.
No, I
I
understand.
just wanted to know what it was.
But not next year.
Not this year.
Yeah, one more year. Yeah, one more year.
Anything else? Okay.
Professional services, DBH, averaging 2,500 to 5,400 on page 1. Under life skill support. Seemed like a big hop.
Page 1,
Page
give me the line item.
1. It says other professional services. SPED for the high school. 44.5.
For the current year?
Right, so current year's 5, and then above it's 43, and then down to 1.
It's like 4 lines from the bottom on that page.
For the current year?
For the current year, yeah, it's listed as 44,000 and change. And then in all the other years, it was like anywhere from like 2.5 to 5.
And go up to the 50. 43,000 was sitting up there. It's just, I didn't understand it for so long.
So that's what's budgeted this year?
Yes, that's what he's asking, yeah. He's just asking like why this year was that big number and in previous and current,
It was
it's
middle school,
lower.
Now it's high school, right? It wasn't middle school, now it's.
Right, so it's a student in the class, and that would be where our OT and PT, our hostel services at that level.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think that's enough detail. Thank you. Anything else for that? Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Moving on. Superintendent's budget. I think we should cut the whole thing.
I don't understand why meals and refreshment increased.
We have not been to Island Pizza that much. Come on.
Post-COVID shedding of,
Joking.
no, post-COVID shedding of some of my COVID weight.
Big shrimp costs $2,000. Chocolate. Butter.
Yeah.
We hope those little turtle things.
I don't like turtle things. I like, he knows what I like.
I like turtle.
What does-
Oh, well,
okay,
you know,
What does make it up? Like,
is that the money that we were supposed to spend on the board dinner that never happened?
No, the
The board
increase.
dinner with Exeter that never happened because the game was.
Yeah,
That's what I was thinking.
part of that was in there, but also was the money at the beginning of the year for breakfast for the staff
Oh, right.
and lunch on the second day for the staff. district
Okay.
staff.
I guess that's okay.
Yeah.
All good. All right. Other than that, it's pretty steady state, right?
Yes.
Any questions
Grant
for
goes
his
double.
40?
He's going to spend crazy here. I don't know.
All right. Tax collection and budget. I don't know, were those even words that I said? Tax collection budget.
I know that first line is, the admin services looks a little weird. We're moving the budget around, trying to make it match what we do now. Instead of, it's more of a professional service now that we outsource with Keystone.
Any reason why We spent so much money on postage this current year.
It's not spended, that's not spent, that's actually the budget.
Okay.
A revised budget, that's just being reallocated
Okay,
to compensate for the Keystone.
all right. All right. The tax assessment administrative services was negative 10K the current year. Is that
Yeah, that's what I said. I said that looks funny because we're reallocating the funds.
okay?
Put it where I know that they
Where it
put
belongs,
budget
okay.
transfers.
And just keeping it under this tax assessment
Yes,
budget.
we're trying
Okay.
to keep it in there, but we can.
I don't know what the problem is with that word, assessment. I can say it. All right, so overall, it's actually pretty close to what it was
Yes.
5 years ago. So, any questions for Kathleen on that? Technology. It's your time to shine, Mr. Matz.
They call this the application technology.
Excuse me. What's with all the zeros, yo?
Esther, so that was
Did you
so
say
good.
yo?
Yeah, I did. So, under technical support services, like all the money's in one bucket there, is that because other stuff we don't have to spend money on, or is it all going to be under lease and rental now?
Yeah, primarily everything is coming under lease and rental at this point.
Okay, and that's part of, I know we were rolling to try to make that happen, so we're down to that point where we've gotten rid of, we've retired all the stuff that wasn't
Yep, this is
that
the
way.
first year that we're completely on a standard replacement schedule at this point.
Okay,
Except for damage, something damaged.
Yeah, exactly.
right. Okay. Yeah. Do. The under technology for nurse and health services, there was like a big payout of some sort during COVID, and then it's all been zeros. Other than that, is that some? I'm sorry, page 2 to 3. In 2020-21.
Two things that it could be, and I don't know which number it is, I just went to it
Yeah.
here, but there's two things that could be. It's either our screening software that we use, or the other big expense they had in nursing was the eye machines were like from 1962 and they weren't appropriated, so they had to be replaced. Those were the two big, I don't know which one was coded in that particular spot, but
Yeah, there's an item of ball about $3,500 for each of the buildings.
Yeah, looking at that line item, I think that is our screening app. That
Okay.
matches up pretty darn close to
All right.
the cost of that.
And so, yeah, okay. All right.
Is that, when you look down, you look in the computer assisted instruction, 488,000, where you see that steady increase, is that for instructional or is that for more supplies? I'm seeing it's kind of both.
Is that, you looking at 348?
No, I'm looking at the 2240.
Yeah, 2240, and then the first line item starts at 348. So yeah, that is our primarily what keeps us running essentially. So that is our internet service. That is Infinite Campus, all those sort of things that are third-party providers.
Does that also include the technology support staff that we currently contract out?
That's a great question. Not that line item. I'm not
Okay.
sure which-
Wait, every meeting we have, we're cost neutral or going down. Your number's going up. I don't get it.
What's that?
I said, every meeting we have, yeah, we're saving $44,000. Yeah, 33,000.
Cost avoidance.
This year, we had said that we were going to buy some more uninterruptible power sources and some generators and stuff. Is that here somewhere?
Yep, that shows up so in that same category, the computer-assisted technologies, line item 766, capital tech equipment replaced. So that's infrastructure. So that's the
Good stuff.
the UPSs, like the batteries, that's
Oh.
the phone system.
Hey, look, I found the number that has gone up
Yes.
significantly
Yeah,
in
that's
2
the,
years.
that's the-
Page 2, about middle of the page, there's a $365,000
yeah, so that's,
amount.
UPSs, that's our high school wireless, and that is the phone system, is that line item.
Right,
So
okay.
This year is much more.
I knew that you said that it was going to be a significant monetary outlay because right now we only have, 3 generators? We don't even have one at every building?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, this year is heavy on infrastructure, lighter on the teacher classroom technology. It's a much more back-end year.
What are the generators going to run on?
What's that?
What are the generators going to run on? Diesel?
So I believe we have generators in the
Nice.
I believe they're all.
What?
Nice.
Yeah,
Mice?
And this keeps everything running when we have no power.
Not everything.
Not
It keeps our data servers running. Because if all the buildings are out of power and we have to tell kids that they're not supposed to come into school, we have to be able to update the website to let them know that. And teachers need to be able to get their email so that they can have a flexible instruction day from home.
Just like that.
Yeah, theoretically.
Yep.
Okay. The numbers overall from this year to last year, as Mr. Sherbill has pointed out, I know there's a lot that goes into this budget, but it's relatively flat year to year, which is what we want to see. We've managed to make it so that we can spend ballpark the same amount of money every year. So.
With having, I feel, and I'm sure everybody in the room does too, I mean, there's been some significant opportunities provided for the
Absolutely.
children in the buildings, and from a technology perspective, what we offer the children in this district is pretty amazing, actually. So, I mean, if you think about it, and then we have it flatlined and fit into our budget, so.
Yeah, we've been fortunate. We've gone, when I stepped into this position, our equipment was about 12 years old on average. Again, this is our first year that we're in a true replacement cycle.
It was ready for middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of our equipment.
Yeah, exactly. So, now 4 years for our students, 7 years for infrastructure, and it's predictable and it's fine.
Yeah.
And it's
Not a hope and a prayer that it keeps.
Yeah, you're going to have some increases once in a while too, with what's happening too.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
Yeah. My favorite part is that we actually put some thought into when we made changes to the type of equipment that the teachers and the students were being provided, put some actual thought into, do we need those many Ethernet plug-in spots in every room, and said maybe we don't need that, and maybe what we need is better Wi-Fi access, even in the far corners of the building. Like with this building's still not, this room's still not great, so get somebody on that. Any other questions for Mr. Matz? No. Okay, moving on to the next thing. Transportation, is that next? Oh, now we're in the home stretch. Okay.
You don't think this is going to go up?
Oh, it's hard to know.
Hard to know.
It's hard to know. Because of fuel, because of the RFP out, right?
Mm-hmm.
To know what happens for next year.
I have a $200,000 increase to the budget for 21, 22 already built in there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't sure what was going to happen when the new school year started.
Okay.
So I feel
And where are we with that? Are we spending?
I think we're
that-
average, we're not as
Oh, we're closer to regular.
Yeah, we're closer to regular than what we were.
Okay.
So, but I was thinking I was gonna put a little bit of extra money in there anyway in the transportation for fuel.
So
Because I'm still trying to get a handle.
we're still trying to get a handle on that.
I think I think it was 200,000, I said that I had the other day.
Okay, so first pass that this current year is higher than we need it by a little bit, and that your first pass at next year's, it's kind of in the same ballpark.
I think
As the current one.
$200,000.
Okay.
I hate to use it.
I mean, I don't really feel the need to dig too far into the weeds on that because we don't know what anything's going to cost for transportation next year, unless anybody disagrees. Hearing nothing, we're moving on to the next thing. My plan to put everybody to sleep has worked.
This is just tuition. This is just breaking out all the tuition that you might have seen in some of the other budgets, but just to show you on what we spent.
Right.
And I have $300,000.
And this is just what's available in the con? Oh, this is not staff tuition. This is tuition to other.
What we pay in tuition.
I apologize. So it is.
Kind of breaks it out for you separately, just to look at.
So it is what it is.
Yes.
Is this an area where we can work on bringing some of those kids back in though, or is this this is an area where we talked about working on trying to bring back some of the children. You're not going to get them all, but there's a percentage where we could probably pick a chunk.
Yes, some of them.
Some of them.
Yeah, some of them, right.
There's somebody, there's people out there, it's going to take an effort, so.
Yep, I agree.
I mean, that's one of the areas we talked about trying to be able to.
Yep.
But if parents make the decisions to send their kids to these institutions, we are on the hook for what we're on the hook for.
Absolutely.
But I agree with what you said.
That was a target that last year.
And what's the plan for doing this? Like, what are we?
We can talk about it. It's not a conversation for the budget meeting, but we can talk about it later.
Marketing.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's marketing.
And marketing.
Yeah. So, is there anything else that we didn't hit upon, Ms. Haynes, that you wanted us to notice so we wouldn't have a heart attack later?
No, I'm just seeing if I can get the facility number before.
Oh, so other than just letting us know when that's available to look at, and
I don't know what happened, why that did that, but that's really bad.
so
We're right around the same dollar amount. I think it went up about $100,000.
Okay.
For a facility.
okay,
I have my worksheet that
that's what I wondered.
Yeah,
It's
about $100,000 more than this year.
all right.
And
so
we have-
last year, the current year was listed as it was like $3.991 million dollars.
522.
And then, so the actual number, instead of being $800,000 lower than that, is actually $100,000 higher. But we'll see it soon. Anybody has any questions for Kathleen? Because I won't be able to answer them. Just email them to Kathleen. If you feel like some of the rest of the board members might have the same questions, you can email all of us. But mostly, she'll be the one that will know the answers. And if there's anything that we really need to discuss soon, we always have a finance committee meeting at the end of the month.
I'll do updates on budget.
Yep.
My intention is that when I'm smoothing out the numbers, putting stuff where it's supposed to be, and going through the grade level, switching whatever needs to be switched, your budget isn't going to be any more. It's going to be around 65 million. It's not like you're going to have some massive increase. It's going to be right around 65 million, right where it was. Try to do level budgeting.
Right.
It's not going to be precise because we're never precise.
Sure.
It should be right around that number.
Okay.
So it's me going to be working through the numbers. If we feel that we need another budget workshop, we can do that in the future, maybe May. So you want to do it once
I was going to
at a time?
ask, do you want to are we thinking for budget meeting directly, are we thinking April, May, June, or just May and June?
I I would think May, and then you guys can make your decision, I'll send out everything.
Oh,
final.
yeah, and then we'll have
And then
a,
you'll have your vote.
because we'll have a finance meeting in March, April, and May, and then, like you said,
Yeah, if there's
June's the
something
decision.
I'll highlight the finance.
If there is a reason for an emergency budget meeting in June, won't that be fun? Okay, all right.
But May should be, you should be able to look at it from the perspective of where the buildings are and stuff like that.
I know these are boring, so thanks everybody for sticking around till the bitter end. I appreciate it. All right, and we're adjourned. Thank you very much.